Have you ever noticed how some people seem to grow calmer, sharper, and harder to influence as they get older, while others become bitter, reactive, or lost in the noise of life? The difference is rarely talent or intelligence. It is something far quieter. This video explores a rare personality type that often begins to thrive after the age of 50. When experience replaces impulse and observation becomes stronger than reaction. Many people spend decades chasing approval, recognition or control, only to discover later that the real advantage lies in understanding human nature and mastering their own mind. If you've ever felt slightly out of place earlier in life, or wondered why patience and quiet thinking seem to become your greatest strength over time, this may explain why. Because for this rare personality, the years most people fear can quietly become their greatest advantage. Why do so many people seem to decline as they grow older? For many, life after 50 slowly turns into a pattern of repetition. The mind stops seeking new challenges and begins relying only on familiar habits and old answers. Over time, thinking becomes more rigid, passions lose their intensity, and curiosity begins to fade. Experience on its own does not create wisdom if there is no reflection behind it. Instead of growing sharper, the mind can become stagnant. The world continues to change and evolve, yet many people retreat into what feels comfortable and predictable, slowly becoming passive observers of life. But a small number of individuals move in the opposite direction. They never allow their curiosity to disappear. They keep learning, observing, and refining their understanding of the world until the very end. Most people believe wisdom automatically comes with age. What they rarely realize is that experience alone is not what creates it. The rare personality who begins to thrive later in life carries a different kind of energy, not loud or restless, but slow and steady. It is the energy of an observant mind. From a young age, they tend to watch more than they speak, quietly noticing details that others overlook. Over many years, they gather small truths about how people behave and how the world really works. With time, those small observations begin to connect. Patterns start to appear, and their understanding becomes clearer. When chaos or conflict arises, they remain calm because they have seen similar patterns before. What others see as confusion, they recognize as something familiar. Their strength is not sudden. It is shaped gradually through decades of careful observation. By the second half of life, that observant mind begins to stand out, calm, thoughtful, and quietly powerful. And over decades, something subtle begins to happen to the person who keeps observing. For the rare personality, life is not only something to experience, it is something to study. Every interaction becomes a lesson, and every setback becomes an opportunity to understand human nature more deeply. They watch quietly, paying attention to how emotions influence people and how real motives often stay hidden beneath the surface. Over many years, they slowly build a mental archive of these observations. They learn to read between the lines of behavior and reflect on each experience life presents. By the time they reach 50, their understanding is not based on guesswork. It is the result of decades spent observing, thinking, and learning. Experience becomes their most trusted teacher, and they move through the world with a sense of mastery that has been earned over time, not simply given. But observation alone is not what gives this personality its advantage. Power exists in almost every interaction, quietly shaping how people behave and respond to one another. Rare individuals begin to notice this earlier than most. They observe carefully, trying to understand what drives people and how influence actually works. Over time, they realize that real power is rarely loud. It is grounded in self-control, not in noise or displays of ego. As the years pass, they see the pattern clearly. Emotional outbursts often weaken a person's position, while calm composure earns respect without effort. By the time they reach 50, they move through these dynamics with subtle awareness. They understand how power flows and where its dangers lie. Their influence is present but never exaggerated, and their strength remains steady rather than dramatic. In many ways, they become quiet masters of the game, guided by insight gained over decades, not by the need to dominate others. Once someone understands how power actually moves between people, their perspective begins to change. Many people reach a point later in life where they stop trying to please everyone and begin protecting their peace instead. If you've started realizing that emotional reactions and constant approval-seeking only drain your energy, this is exactly why I wrote my short guide called The Art of Strategic Indifference. It explains how to stay calm, detach from unnecessary drama, and move through life with quiet psychological control. If that's something you're learning to develop, the link is in the description. Over many years of observation, their mind fills with a quiet collection of lessons drawn from life. They remember the many examples of arrogance leading people into trouble, the dangers of short-term thinking, and how easily self-deception can mislead someone. At the same time, they also recall moments of integrity, quiet courage, and the surprising strength that can come from forgiveness. All of these experiences form a kind of internal library. With time, this archive helps them recognize patterns almost immediately. They can see through empty promises and notice manipulation before it fully reveals itself. Their perspective stays balanced. They are neither naive nor overly cynical, but clear-minded about how people behave. Because of this long memory of experience, they tend to judge situations with accuracy and act with quiet wisdom, drawing on lessons gathered across an entire lifetime. And this is where the long memory of experience becomes an advantage most people never develop. After 50, composure often becomes one of their most noticeable qualities. Years of emotional highs and lows have quietly taught them that restraint holds real power. Criticism, flattery, or provocation no longer move them the way they once might have, because they have learned to see through the emotions and intentions behind such behavior. Their sense of self-worth becomes rooted in their own principles rather than in public approval or opinion. Without the constant need to impress others, they begin to act with calm and careful thought. This emotional discipline slowly turns into one of their greatest strengths. The stillness they carry is not a sign of passivity. It becomes the quiet foundation behind their most thoughtful and effective decisions. At this point, something else begins to change, not how they see the world, but how the world begins to see them. Patience, which many once mistook for weakness, slowly becomes one of their most valuable strengths. They understand that time has a way of revealing motives, exposing mistakes, and bringing clarity to complicated situations. While others feel the urge to act quickly, they choose to watch and wait, quietly collecting information as events unfold. This calm patience often unsettles those around them, because people who rush tend to expose their intentions and errors. What looks like inaction is often a deliberate decision. For them, waiting can be the most powerful move, thoughtful, strategic, and quietly effective. In a world that values speed and immediate results, their patience becomes a rare and powerful advantage. In a world that moves quickly, the person who refuses to rush often begins to see what others miss. If this video helps you see human nature more clearly, feel free to subscribe. A like also helps the video reach others who are interested in these ideas. In a world that often confuses noise with importance, the quiet observer over 50 carries a different kind of authority, one that comes from stillness rather than position or title. Their calm presence naturally draws people closer, and when they speak, their words carry weight because they are rare and carefully considered. Over many years, their habit of restraint and reflection quietly builds a reputation for wisdom and stability. This authority does not need to announce itself. It emerges from depth, where thoughtful silence gradually proves more powerful than constant noise. After 50, the quiet observer often learns the skill of social invisibility, moving through situations without attracting unnecessary attention. They are able to stay in the background while watching how people behave when they believe no one is truly observing them. While others focus on being noticed or making an impression, they quietly collect information without interruption. This ability becomes a powerful advantage, allowing them to see without being seen. From this wider view, they begin to notice details and patterns that most people overlook. Their real strength does not come from speaking often, but from what they understand. And just as important is what they choose to keep to themselves. After 50, influence rarely comes from loud arguments or strong displays of charisma. It begins to come from quiet insight, the ability to notice patterns that others overlook and to ask the right question at the right moment. The mature observer guides conversations with clarity rather than commands, often helping others arrive at their own solutions. Instead of pushing their ideas forward, they allow understanding to unfold naturally. Their wisdom spreads gradually, much like ripples moving across still water. Over time, this quiet influence shapes decisions and earns respect, all without the need to raise their voice. After 50, a quiet sense of freedom often begins to appear. The constant need for social approval slowly fades, replaced by a stronger inner sense of direction. No longer guided by the applause of others, their focus turns inward. The rare personality begins to value authenticity more than acceptance. decisions and actions become shaped by personal principles and long-term goals. While many people continue chasing validation, they quietly step away from that race. This independence becomes the base of their quiet authority. And eventually, the greatest shift happens quietly inside the mind. As the need for external approval begins to fade, the rare personality slowly builds what could be called a fortress of the self. It is not meant to shut the world out, but to protect their inner clarity and sense of purpose. The foundations of this fortress are built from self-knowledge, emotional discipline, and principles that have been tested through many years of experience. With time, these qualities become deeply rooted. Their confidence comes not from opinion or status, but from competence and character. Because of this, they become far more resistant to manipulation and social pressure. They learn to govern the landscape of their own mind with calm judgment and steady control. This is the deeper advantage that age and experience can bring. The ability to stand firmly within the fortress of the self and quietly thrive. Maturity can become a powerful advantage, quiet, steady, and deeply rooted. Those who truly thrive after 50 do not slowly fade into the background. Instead, they rise into a new phase of life, shaped by patience, composure, and emotional discipline. Their strength does not appear suddenly. It is formed through years of reflection and a lifetime spent learning from experience. No longer driven by the need for approval, they begin to act with greater integrity and speak with a kind of insight that comes from understanding. In the later years of life, they often become a source of stability and quiet authority, showing that real power is not found in youth alone, but in the depth that comes with maturity. If you found this perspective useful, leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments. You can also share this video with someone who might appreciate it. Subscribe for more insights on psychology and human behavior, and watch the next video to continue exploring these ideas.